So
Sure.
okay. So two fights: Butler, Bulls, Barkley, LeBron, Melo trade, and then Super Bowl. And we'll let Kenny drive the conversation. Do you want to put times on each one, or do you want to just manage it yourself, Kenny?
I can try to manage it myself.
Okay. So if you think it's just rambling, you could just move it on. All right. Whenever you're ready, it started recording already. So.
Oh, we started recording already?
Yeah.
All right. Wait, let me think about our intro really quick.
All right. Type it out now. Type it out now.
Do we have intro music? Isn't that Mike's job?
Did you not listen to episode 6?
Sorry, I missed it. I listened to everyone but this last one.
Mike did not send me the music. Thanks, Mike.
I did not send the music. I've been playing like 5 seconds of Final Countdown, and then we just start talking.
And yeah, Mike's too busy with Dungeons and Dragons to do research.
That's true. Dungeons and Dragons and having
and reading all of Reddit before 9 a.m.
Seriously, Mike.
Way to care about us.
And is Ray Mr. Producer?
Sure. Yes.
Ray, are you playing ball?
I am. I heard you're in too.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are playing? I guess I will. I'm trying to book my vacation, so I'm trying to figure out when to play.
Where are you going, Mike?
Well, I can book anytime.
You should go to New Orleans, like I said.
Nah, New Orleans is kind of trashy.
Dude, you can go to like Bourbon Street and just
Pelicans.
party with no, it's the NBA All-Star weekend.
Yeah, good place to bring your baby, right?
Don't bring Dia, Mike.
Yeah, man. Go so.
It's President's Day weekend, it's All-Star weekend, and it's Fat Tuesday all on the same weekend.
We're probably gonna go to Turks and Caicos.
What?
Ooh.
Yeah, they have a resort where they take care of your kids for you.
All right, I think I'm ready.
All right.
Do you want intro music or no?
Oh, Kenny, we need to do Super Bowl picks. At the end. Yeah, you have it right. So.
Okay.
All right. No, we don't need. I'll add in the intro music later. We don't need intro music right now.
Hey, quick question. Can you hear me clicking my mouse?
Yes.
Mouse? You can hear the mouse?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear it.
Oh, damn.
No typing. No typing, Mike. God, stop typing.
All right, can you still hear it now?
Yes.
Really? It's that sensitive? Okay.
Where's your mic?
It's right in front of me.
I mean, like, is it next to your mouse or your keyboard?
This is where it is.
God, put on pants, Mike.
Oh yeah, sorry.
All right, are we starting?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to a special Super Bowl edition of the Banana Stand. Today I'll be taking over for Mike as your host. I'm Kenny. Here with me I have Mike, Johnny, and Mr. Ray, better known as our producer. So today we'll be talking about a couple of topics, mainly the Super Bowl, but before we jump into that, we got some nice juicy NBA gossip. Starting off with Charles Barkley versus LeBron. So to give you a recap of the situation, this all started out when the Cavs lost to the Pelicans at a night where Anthony Davis wasn't even playing. And James is quoted saying, "We have a top-heavy team. We top-heavy as shit. It's me, Kyrie, Kevin Love. It's top-heavy, and we need a fucking playmaker." So let's start off with Mike. What are your thoughts on this? You agree with this perception?
I mean, objectively speaking, he's right. They are a top-heavy team, but you can't lose to the fucking Pelicans without Anthony Davis and then complain when you have one of the highest payrolls, if not the highest payroll in the league. It doesn't work like that, especially when you're the best player in the league and you have two, we'll call them top 25 guys. You can't do it, man. It's weak. You can't complain about that.
But what about all the injuries? I mean, Kevin Love's hurt, out several weeks.
Okay, let's put it this way. Who do the Pelicans have other than Anthony Davis? Can you name me 3 players on that roster other than Anthony Davis?
That's a solid point.
You got anyone on mind?
On the Pelicans, Drew Holiday.
That's a big name right there.
Is he even playing right now? I guess he's back, right?
Yeah, he's back. They're actually playing okay. Well, I think, but I agree. I mean, I'm going to take LeBron's side on this. The grind of the regular season is it's 82 games. It's just a terrible grind. And if you're a top-heavy team, like a really tough losing streak like this, and it's up to the GM to get LeBron what he wants and what he needs. Man.
All right, let me cut in real quick. I'm going to read you the 5 guys leading in minutes played other than Anthony Davis on the Pelicans. You got Solomon Hill, Terrence Jones, Etwan Moore, who I didn't think was still in the league and definitely not starting, Drew Holiday, and then Langston Galloway. So
yeah, saying about the Pelicans.
I'm saying they're a shitty team, and LeBron should not be complaining about anything when he loses to a team that's 19-30. Right?
So my thoughts on this is LeBron's thinking more than just the Pelicans. He's looking at the big picture. I feel like a lot of this is driven by after beating the Warriors last year in the finals, seeing that he was able to top what everyone thought was the best team, but then right after that, they get an MVP caliber player in Kevin Durant. So he's probably thinking about the finals. He's thinking, we were this good last year, and we only just barely beat the Warriors, and now they're even better. And not only that, he's lost players. He's lost Delhi. He's lost Mozgov. And then some of his teammates are hurt too. So how does that play into this?
So let me pose another question for you. If you had to guess what Cleveland's payroll is right now, knowing that the salary floor is somewhere around $80 million, what would you guess that their total salary is right now?
They have the highest payroll of all time, don't they? I think it's like
they're paying $129.5 million for this season, which is fucking crazy. You can't. Who are the Cavaliers supposed to be picking up that is going to make them better that they can afford? Especially after LeBron already got all his boys signed, right? He got Tristan Thompson signed to a pretty big deal. He got JR signed to a big deal. He got Shump signed to a big deal. Channing Frye to a reasonable deal. Richard Jefferson's actually taking a discount to play with them. They got Corver, Birdman, James Jones. Like, these are all guys that, like, Birdman and James Jones especially, these are guys that LeBron specifically asked. He wants them on their team. They're not serviceable basketball players at this point, right?
Well, Birdman's just out for the season.
Exactly. So that's 2 spots and $3 million that they're spending on guys who are
LeBron. LeBron is a GM, right? He's a GM himself, so he knows what it takes to win, and especially going for a championship. And they have the target on their back every night. So teams like the Pelicans, even without Anthony Davis, are going to go all out to try to beat them. You need depth. And there's no reason that LeBron James should be leading the league in minutes, right? On the long game, right? They want to get the 1 seed. They want to rest, perfect their game plan for the finals. So LeBron is complaining because he doesn't want all these minutes. He doesn't want him and Love playing 40 or 38 minutes a night just to beat the goddamn Pelicans.
I agree with that.
Just a quick clarification. LeBron is 15th in the league in minutes. He's only leading Cleveland in minutes. But
15th in the league in minutes. How old is he now? That's a lot.
He's the best player in the league. He's playing fewer minutes than Melo and Marcin Gortat, right? And those are pretty old guys who are not, anywhere near as good. He's playing.
The point is that don't have depth. He shouldn't be the 15th leading minutes player in the league, right? That's why he's saying we need depth. How many minutes a night does, I don't know, Kawhi play? Or not Kawhi, but because he's so young, but like Tony Parker or Ginobili, right?
I mean, those guys are
Yes,
quite a
the
bit
best
older.
player in the league.
So we can argue
Yeah,
all
but-
day about whether or not LeBron's comments are justified, but how about the fact that he's actually calling out his teammates? Should he really be doing that? I feel like he's demoralizing his team by saying that.
I don't think to be fair to LeBron, and I realize I sound like I'm hating on him. His comments were not actually that harsh to his team. He said something along the lines of, and I don't have the quote, we're very top heavy. We don't have playmaking besides me, which is true. Kyrie probably needs to step up in that regard. And then we have DeAndre Liggins and K Felder. These guys are, one of them I think is out of the D League. Both of them are pretty young guys, and they're not really ready to be playing heavy rotation minutes in the playoffs, which I think that's what he was saying, which is true, right? I think it's fair. But at the same time, I don't think you get to complain when you're the best player and your team is pretty stacked. And specifically, you made the decision to sign 70-80% of the roster, right? Those are your boys. You're like, I want these guys. I want them paid.
I think he has a right to complain.
Well, Mike, you got some good company because Barkley had similar sentiments. So moving on to what he said, Barkley just said this past Thursday in the Inside the NBA segment, he called what LeBron said inappropriate, whiny, all of the above. He's got Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love. Does he want everybody? You don't want to compete? You don't want to be you want to be the favorite all the time? So you agree with Barkley? You agree with his thoughts there?
I think the whole you don't want to compete thing is I mean, I've criticized LeBron in the past for kind of taking the easy route, but I think that's just the reality of the league these days, right? Ever since the Boston Big Three, that's just the thing to do. You just stack up a team. So I'm not going to hate on him for that. I just don't think you get the right to complain given the roster that you've put together.
So Johnny, are you anti-Chuck now? You're on LeBron's side?
I think I get where Charles Barkley is coming from, but I'm Team LeBron. He can say whatever he wants because even though he sort of like built this team by getting them to pay Tristan and signing Channing Frye, like Mike said, I just think he knows what it's going to take to beat the Warriors. And that's what's scaring him, right? He sees the Warriors, breaking records and playing better than they have all season right now. And he knows that, he's looking over his shoulder and saying, we can't beat them with this team. We need more depth. We need a point guard. We need a bench, really. And I think, he's very frustrated. And I think, he's the best player in the world and he can say whatever he wants to whoever. And if Charles Barkley is going to call him whiny because of that, listen, Charles, you're just rambling on about some nonsense all the time. I don't like Charles Barkley ever since he's always talking about how he hates analytics and how he's bashing all the stat geeks and nerds living in their mom's basements. Why is every guy who points to one stat living in their mom's basement? I don't know.
He's just the bad boy of the NBA. That's what he says. He's just a TV analyst saying it like he sees it. But all right.
They're much better, smarter people to listen to about basketball than Charles Barkley.
Well, I kind of agree with your thoughts that LeBron's looking at the bigger picture and seeing Durant go to the Warriors is affecting his thoughts and driving a lot of what he says. But at the same time, I kind of do agree with Mike that you can't lose to the Pelicans. You can't lose to the Kings and then the Mavs and not even lose to the Mavericks by like a small margin. They lost by a decent chunk. It wasn't even a close game. You can't lose those games and say you need a playmaker.
Yeah, and
No.
I don't think their playmaking is actually that bad. I mean, Kyrie is not a prolific assist man like a Chris Paul or anyone like that, but he gets enough open lanes that he can, he can find people off dribble penetration, and that should be enough to get by, right? I think that's really a coaching issue. I think if they staggered the minutes of Kyrie and LeBron, and really just let Kyrie go to town and put some shooters around him, I think they could. I think they'd be able to get by.
Yeah,
So if
again,
anything,
no, I think
conversation he has with not Blatt, Tyronn Lue.
What were you saying, Johnny?
yeah, again, no, I really think LeBron's just looking over at the Warriors and saying, "Listen, I'm the in this series, and then 2 through 5 could be on the Warriors." And he just wants, he's not asking for Melo. He's not asking for another all-star. He's asking for another playmaker who can come off the bench, or so we don't have to on these young guys in the playoffs, like you said.
Let's say they had kept Dellavedova, right? Do you think he would?
No, I don't think he would be complaining like this. It would have snapped if Dellavedova was still on the Cavs.
Who like how good of a player is he asking for when he's making the statement that he needs better playmaking?
Another guy who can handle the ball, right?
So that drives to what they're doing now.
Are we talking Rubio? How good of a player do you think he wants?
I think he wants just another solid backup point guard.
So let's look at the free agent tryouts now, the people they're bringing in. They're trying out Chalmers, Lance Stevenson. Would you consider these players good enough?
Yes. I think so. I think Mario Chalmers is the guy he wants. Is the guy
Chalmers, I mean, it's reasonable. He's played in 4 finals with them in the past when he was on the Heat. Won 2 rings with them.
He did also. He is also coming off a season-ending knee injury, and he wasn't signed by anyone. You can't think that bodes well for Chalmers' ability to keep playing. And ditto for Lance, right? Like New Orleans is quite depleted on talent, and they didn't even keep him around.
Well, so I feel like
I mean,
question there. That's because he got hurt when he was on the Pelicans. I think he had a groin injury. I can't remember now. But he's proved in the past when he was playing on the Pacers that he's a very solid player. He did very well with them in the past. Then he bounced around with a couple of teams, had some off-the-court trouble too. Well, not really off the court, just on the court getting in trouble. But do you think he could be a solid player? He'll be that playmaker for them, for the Cavs?
I think of them are fine. It just depends on their health, right? If you're there hurt, then of course don't sign them. But if they can get back to where they were before their injuries, then yeah, I think either of them would fit. But especially Chalmers, just because he's played with LeBron before, he's a better outside shooter. Who knows? Lance is such a wild card. He could be amazing, and he could also like disrupt your locker room and mess with LeBron's head, blow in his ear, and things like that.
Can we?
Here's the best part.
Can we get to LeBron's actual comments and what he said to Chuck?
Well, let's go back to that. That's a great point. So I thought that was pretty interesting, since in the past LeBron's always been really good at ignoring his detractors. He doesn't let it get to his head. He generally stays pretty even keel and just avoids all these comments. But this time he got really into it with Barkley. He got personal too. So I'm going to read a direct quote from LeBron. I'm not going to let him disrespect my legacy like that. I'm not the one who threw somebody through a window. I never spit on a kid. I never had unpaid debt in Las Vegas. I never said I'm not a role model. I never showed up to All-Star Weekend on Sunday because I was in Vegas all weekend partying. So damn, LeBron got personal.
Yeah, you left off the best part. Is all I've done my entire career is represent the NBA the right way. 14 years, never got in trouble, respected the game. Print that. I think the implication. And then he goes after. I know he went after Barkley for trying to team up in Phoenix and stuff like that. I'm glad he actually spoke up, because I feel like he has gotten piled on a lot, but I also don't think he responded to. I think he kind of dodged Chuck's actual criticism, because Charles's point was like, you can't, it was all basketball, right? And then LeBron's comments were all very personal attacks, which I think are true, but not relevant to the conversation.
I agree. He Googled Chuck and then he just went off. But then Chuck responds by trying to take the high road, by saying that he's not going to get personal, and then he still stands by his comments.
I feel like that's being. LeBron had a right to snap back at him and get personal. I mean, Barkley's comments weren't all basketball related. I feel like when you question his like competitive spirit and you say, he doesn't want to compete, he always needs to be the favorite. I mean, LeBron, he was telling the front office that we need some help. Maybe it came off a little whiny, but he's perfectly fine in saying that, especially since we don't know what the reporter was asking, right? What if the reporter said, do you think we need help? The Cavs need help, LeBron? And he said, yes, I do. We're a top-heavy team, blah, blah, blah. But like I don't know. I feel like Barkley.
He said it with a whole lot more enthusiasm than that, with a few swear words thrown in as well.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I like that emotion that LeBron shows. And he says, you have to be the favorite all the time. That's questioning like his emotions and his spirit of the game and how much he cares about winning. And LeBron has every right to just snap back at him, because he is just, he's just right now, he's just a guy on TV who says takes on TNT and gets paid a lot of money for it. And
I think that's somewhat justified. I can agree with that. But at the same time, it makes me wonder, why now? Why does he respond now? And why to Chuck? Chuck's just a TV analyst. He never says anything to Skip, and Skip says a lot of crazy shit.
That's because no one respects Skip Bayless at all, whereas people listen to Charles Barkley. That's my opinion. Skip's not even on ESPN anymore, so.
Yeah, I think Skip is less relevant than Chuck. But yeah, and LeBron probably, like, he did mention something about, like, don't just smile and shake my hand at All-Star Weekend. Like, every road, my entire schedule, come talk to me, right? So maybe like every time Charles Barkley sees LeBron, he's always like, "Oh, how are you?" Like, shakes his hand and then he goes on TV and blasts him. And LeBron doesn't like that either, right? So he has every right to snap at Chuck and Google him and spill all his dirty secrets about his past.
Well, there are no secrets. All you had to do was Google it.
Well, he just had to read off the list then.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you were GM LeBron, how would you change the team, right? Because let's be real, LeBron is, if not actually the GM, he has a lot to say. Like, what moves can you even make that would give your team playmaking or just make your team better? Because their team is so far over the limit that it's going to be a challenge, I think.
Well, as a New York fan, I think the one that's particularly appealing to some of us is moving Melo over. Do you see that as reasonable, doable, even enough to save that team?
For who? Shump
That's
and
a good
JR?
question in itself.
Just bring Shump and JR back.
Personally, I would love to see that. But that's been some of the news today, where the Knicks have been trying to make a deal with the Cavs to move Melo. Of course, Melo has been talking about how he doesn't quite want to go, and he has a no trade clause, one of just 3 people to have that in their contract. And the Cavs also refuse to move Love. So if they were to
they're
make a
doing the
deal,
right.
do you have any? Let's say they were to do what you just suggested. Shump and J.R. Smith come back to New York for Melo. How would that go? Would that work out for the Cavs? Is that enough to make them compete with the Warriors?
So I think salary-wise, just checking, I think it does work. That should be a valid deal. And if it's not, they can probably toss in some really cheap bench guys just to fill the salary. I don't know that it makes either team better. In fact, I think it probably makes both teams worse. I mean, Melo's not a playmaking guy. I kind of see him as a finisher. And JR can at least create occasionally or a little bit. And they just give up a lot of wing depth. I feel like if anything, that's the opposite direction of where they say they want to be going. And I also don't think it makes sense for New York. It's step down in talent. You're not saving any future cap space. You might as well have Carmelo play the old man and deflect criticism from Porzingis.
So New York's stuck with Melo. We're just going to have to wait him out.
I mean, do you want Austin Rivers and Jamal Crawford?
Maybe.
No.
What are your thoughts, Johnny?
I think the Cavs don't need to mess up anything too big, especially not. They're doing the right thing. If anything, I think they should fill out some depth on the bench and just hold your ground. You're going to pick up the 1 seed most likely, and even if not, you're still going to win the East. It's a 7-game series. Who knows?
So the solution is bring in Chalmers, have him fill out that Delhi role, and then they're good to go.
Third on the Warriors. I think so. I think and then they need to rest LeBron for like 2 weeks, and just prepare for the playoffs. They have such an easy road every single year. You know, they're gonna make it to the finals again, and then LeBron his super turbo mode and beat the Warriors by himself.
You know what?
Do you agree with that? That Chalmers alone or Lance Stevenson is enough to make them contend with the Warriors?
So I think no matter who they can reasonably add, the Warriors are going to be favorites in a series.
Right, exactly. I agree with that.
I like Johnny's idea that they rest LeBron for a couple of weeks because let's be real, it doesn't really matter for the Cavs whether they're the 1 seed or the 2 seed or the 3 seed or, they could drop down to the 8 seed and they're going to fucking destroy the playoffs, right? So I think it does make sense to give LeBron a good amount of rest. One team that I think would be interesting if they added Melo would be, and I haven't heard this talked about a lot, if the Raptors added Melo in exchange for, let's say, Terrence Ross, Corey Joseph, and Patrick Patterson, right? Do you think that gets them not over the hump, but comparable to the Cavs?
I don't think so. Bronze East until
so? They would be running
further notice.
Lowry, DeRozan, Melo. Probably
It ruins their depth though. I think they depend on P-Pat and Terrence Ross even more now, and I think the Raptors, they're just have enough to beat the Cavs. When the Cavs are rolling, I mean, they even last year it was 2-2 going back to Cleveland, and I don't think anyone in the world thought the Raptors had a chance to win 2 out of 3. He wasn't worried at all. He was never nervous during that series.
I kind of agree.
They just don't have enough, and I think Melo doesn't move the needle that much for them.
I don't know. As a New York fan, part of me feels like when I watch Melo, he's kind of streaky. He's going to have games where he's going to be incredible, put up crazy numbers, score so much, But then at the same time, there's also going to be games where his shot's off. He's going to take way too many long twos, and they're not going to fall. And I don't think you can go on a playoff run with a player like that. Not when you're that heavily dependent on him. So I'm not sure that trade would be enough to make Raptors contenders versus the Cavs.
Well, I don't think they would be contenders, but I mean, would you still make the trade? Because Kyle Lowry is he's going to waive his player option after the season, and then he's going to get paid probably a max contract, I would think. I know he's like 30 or so. He's on his final contract, really. I think he's going to ask for a max deal, 5 years, 150 million, something like that. And I think that the Raptors would have to give him the contract just because if they lose Lowry, they take multiple steps back, right? They drop back to the barely making the playoff spot, I think. So, I mean, I think this is it. Like, unless they want to make a whole bunch of changes, I think this is their team that they're going to be rolling with for the next 2-3 years, that core. And I don't know that they can get, LeBron's going to stay in the East. So if not now, then when?
I think part of it is also New York's not going to trade with Masai ever again.
Oh, yeah. Bargnani.
They raped him for Bargnani. So with trading with the Raptors.
Right. Well, we've dwelled a little bit on some juicy NBA gossip. I think we should probably move on to the topic of the night, which is the Super Bowl, which is coming up in just a couple of days. So if you happen to not be aware, which I hope you're not, this year's Super Bowl is going to be the Pats versus the Falcons. So starting off with some high-level thoughts, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Pats or the Falcons in particular? Johnny, let's start with you.
I think it's going to be a big offensive game. It's almost like we're talking about the Falcons-Packers game again, preview, where we're going to see a lot of offense. Yeah. Defense is going to be like, secondary to the discussion. We're going to see two very high-powered offenses go at it, and it's going to be really quarterbacks a lot, Brady versus Matty Ice, and who's going to play better and who's going to, utilize their weapons better against the opposing, sort of weak defenses. I'll say it's weak, even though we're probably going to talk about how good their defenses are, aren't we?
I was going to say, you're going to call these defenses weak? They're in the Super Bowl. These are some pretty solid teams.
Yeah, but that's not what brought them here.
I'm going to disagree with that. I think New England actually has a great defense. I think last week I talked about the stats and how they were one of the, I want to say, top 10 teams or top 10 team in both passing and rush defense. And they look good against. They look good last week. They look good in the entire playoffs. 16th. What do you say?
Their defense was ranked 16th this year.
No, it's their pass defense was ranked 8th in yards.
I'm going by DVOA ratings.
Oh, that's whack. DVOA is whack. And
what are you using, points per game allowed?
New England was 8th in both yards per pass attempt as well as yards per rush attempt. So
we could do better than that, Mike.
Per play basis, they I think they were very good. They're a very stout defense, and they've played well in the playoffs. Who has
into it a bit, the Falcons offense versus the Pats defense. This is a Falcons offense that has been extremely potent in the regular season, putting up some crazy numbers, versus a Pats defense that's generally known to be very versatile. Maybe not a lot of star players, but from top to bottom, this is a solid defense. So Johnny, if you were focused pretty heavily on the offense, do you think there's going to be any star players for this game?
Yeah, I
Besides
think we'll
Matty
see.
Ice?
Yeah, I think we'll see all their weapons used, and I think they'll all be pretty good. I mean, I don't think New England has a good defense. If you guys argue for that, that's fine. But I think they have an average defense, or maybe slightly above average. But Atlanta played the toughest schedule against the toughest opposing defenses in the league, and Matt Ryan just went one by one and picked. They won 11 games this year, right? So I think he's used to strong defenses all year, and he's performed at an MVP level, and he has all his weapons right now: Coleman, Devonta Freeman, and Julio Jones, and I feel like they're all going to be successful this game, and yes, I'm leaning towards the Falcons winning. They're still underdogs, and they have to really outscore New England.
See, as a counter argument to that, one of the biggest advantages of the Falcons during the regular season is their versatility, how they can attack you from multiple ways. I mean, just looking at their running backs, you have these two running backs that can pretty much play wide receiver. They've got great hands, they can power run, but they can also swing to the outside and catch passes. And then looking at the Pats defense, what they're best known for is also their versatility. So during the regular season, the Falcons would get a lot of wins by focusing on the opposing team's weaknesses and attacking that. Like if you looked at the Packers game, they went to Julio because they saw that he was being guarded by Gunter, and that's just a horrible mismatch. And Julio went off for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the Pats don't quite have that same weakness. So do you still feel the Falcons can just completely take advantage of the Pats defense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how. I mean, I think their offense is just really, really strong, and you have they're versatile and they're really, really well coached. But this year, the Falcons just have too many weapons, and there's just too many ways they can beat you, and you can't defend against all of them. I don't think they can unless you're. I don't know. I mean, how many defenses were able to stop them this year?
Yeah, I know. I realize. So I realized that I just presented a defense of the New England, of how good New England's defense is. I actually agree with Johnny though. Like their team is, I think even more versatile than Johnny gave him credit for. Mohamed Sanu is a very legitimate number 2. He does a lot of the little things. In the run game as well. Taylor Gabriel, he's really coming to his own. He's kind of, and I think it's really him, Devonta Freeman, and Tevin Coleman. They have this ability to make plays, both in the run as well as in the passing game. Atlanta likes to do a lot of play action and a lot of other teams you would call it checkdowns, but for Atlanta they're kind of designed short pass plays to the running back. And once they make that pass, they're able to get blocking and continue blocking down the field for these guys, and they pick up huge chunks of yards. And I to be honest, it's hard for me to see how New England is going to stop them. And conversely, I feel like New England is actually not as versatile as a lot of people give them credit for. Obviously, Tom Brady is great. Edelman is great. Chris Hogan has performed as kind of a big target for Brady.
So you're jumping in a bit here. Before we move on to the Pats offense, let's take a moment to pick who do you think is going to be the top scorer for the Falcons offense. Let's do what we did last week for fantasy scoring.
I think it's going to be one of the backs, either Coleman or Freeman. It's a little hard for me to pick which one because in my mind they're kind of interchangeable, and one of them will have a good game, and I think it's going to be hard for New England to stop the Falcons from really controlling the time of possession. I think they can by running the ball, by doing short passes, and then throwing in some deep passes to Julio and Sanu just to keep the defense honest. It's hard for me to see the Patriots really locking down the offense.
So one of the
I'm going to go with I'll say Coleman because he's shiftier.
How about you, Johnny?
I'm going to go with Julio Jones. I'm going to take the easy route. I think, sure, Atlanta is, as Mike said, they like to keep the defenses honest, meaning they like to make big plays. And so, with Julio Jones and Taylor Gabriel, I think they generated the most, like 30 more big plays this season. And, I think it kind of works the other way, as in, I think the two-headed monster running backs kind of keep the defenses honest, and then you go out for the big plays, and that's what Matt Ryan does. And Julio Jones or Gabriel, they're gonna get their big plays and score the most fantasy points. But I'm gonna go with Julio Jones because he's better.
Yeah, and one thing I realized we haven't actually touched upon is the offensive line. I feel like the Falcons' offensive line has done a superb job of keeping Matt Ryan upright in the regular season, but especially in the playoffs. I don't have any stats to necessarily back me up, but watching the Packers game, I felt like Matt Ryan had all the time in the world to just pick them apart. I'm not enamored with the Patriots defensive line. I mean, they have some talent there. Jabal Sheard, I think, is very good, but I can't see them generating the type of pressure that they would need to disrupt Atlanta's rhythm.
I agree that an offensive success always starts from the offensive line. Fortunately for this exercise, offensive lines don't put up any fantasy points, so we can't pick any of them. And Ray, are you there?
Yeah.
Let's get your opinion as well. If you were to pick a fantasy star for the Falcons for the Super Bowl, who would you?
I'm gonna pick Matt Bryant. Thank you guys. You guys are terrible at fantasy.
That's
Kickers aren't real people.
That's a fun pick.
You're gonna pick Matt Bryant over Matt Ryan?
Oh, true. I'll. You know what? You can't spell Matt Bryant without Matt Ryan. So I guess I pick both in that regard.
That's a good point.
This guy. All right, pick a skill player.
I'm gonna pick Mohamed Sanu. I think he'll throw a touchdown this game. So just wait for it.
He did play QB at one point, didn't he?
He is the Wildcat quarterback.
Well, I'm going to have to go with Johnny here. I think Julio's going to be the star. I think they're going to try to cover him with Malcolm Butler, and it's just not going to work out. And I don't see, while Malcolm Butler was a star cornerback of 2 years ago when he had the Super Bowl saving pick, I just don't think he can contest Julio at all.
Yeah.
All right, now let's switch to the other side of the ball. Let's talk about the Pats offense versus the Falcons D.
Can I just toss out a real quick stat that I think is amazing to me?
Sure.
The Falcons in regular season, they had 84 plays of 20 or more yards, which strikes me as a huge number over the course of the season. I just wanted to put that out there.
Is that 84 attempts or 84 successful plays?
84 plays of 20 or more yards.
That's an incredible stat.
No.
I think that's largely thanks to Julio, Matt Ryan, and Taylor Gabriel.
Yeah, it's pretty well distributed. I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna look this up for the Patriots. You guys can go ahead.
All right, so we're gonna switch to the other side of the ball and talk about the Pats offense versus the Falcons D. So starting with Tom Brady, possibly the greatest of all time. He already has 4 Super Bowl rings, and he's playing for his 5th. Do you guys consider him one of the all-time greatest of all time? Johnny?
I mean, he's definitely in the conversation. I think he needs this one to get there.
To be greatest of all time.
Yeah. I don't like talking about it. I just want to avoid this conversation. But you have to give him credit.
Well, it's an interesting conversation because people our age, a lot of them consider Peyton Manning to be possibly the greatest of all time. And Tom Brady is the same age. And unlike Peyton, who started to fall off around 37, I think in 2014, 2015, I'm losing track of time now. Tom Brady is still playing at the same age as Peyton at a very high level, and he has shown no signs of falling off.
I think it's a peak versus longevity thing. I would argue that peak Peyton Manning was better than peak Brady, but Brady has played for so long. He's played at a high level for so long that I think you give it to him. It's kind of the Tim Duncan versus KG argument. And I think most people would say Duncan wins by merit of more championships and just more consistent play over a longer period of time.
Yeah, I think the larger question is Brady versus Montana now. I think it's pretty clear. I would be surprised if people have Manning over Brady still on their Mount Rushmore. Say it's Brady or Montana. What do you guys think?
I think Brady actually over Montana. This might be recency bias. I didn't watch Joe Montana play truthfully, so all I've seen is clips.
Well, I think if Tom Brady wins this game, that moves him up to number 2, right behind number 1, who should be Eli Manning.
Trying to have a real conversation here, Kenny.
No, Eli's the only one that can beat Brady in the Super Bowl, unless Matt Ryan does it.
I mean, Eli's beat him twice, and I think Brady, most people will consider him the GOAT if he wins this game. And if you beat him twice in the Super Bowl, then it's pretty clear, right?
I think so. But on a serious note, though, like, what do you the argument could be Montana was 4-0 in Super Bowls, and Brady is 4-2 right now and could be 5-2, or if he loses 4-3. How do you make that comparison?
I mean, part of it.
Montana never had to play against Eli.
That's true. Or Ryan.
All right, well, let's get back to this game. Get back to the Super Bowl game. How do you think the Pats offense is going to attack the Falcons D? Who do you think is going to be their chief offensive weapon? Because similar to the Falcons, this is a very balanced team. They have a solid run game, a bunch of Wes Welkers in the passing game. So who are they going to go with?
I don't think they're actually as versatile as people say they are. And I know in the past I've said they're very versatile, but which they are, but not compared to Atlanta. I think their passing game is far more potent than their run. Deion Lewis has had good games. LeGarrette Blount's had good games. I don't see them bringing it this game against the Falcons. I see them really challenging the Falcons in the passing game. And I feel like, to be honest, the more I talk about it, the more I'm convincing myself that the Falcons are going to win. I don't know if that's wishful thinking or, how I think it's actually going to play out. But I think there's going to be a lot of challenges in the middle of the field. Belichick really loves to get control over that middle area. And it's going to be, in my mind, a question on whether the Falcons can put pressure on Brady through whether it's Vic Beasley or someone else, whether they can blitz and get pressure on him, or if he just picks them apart. I think their corners are not bad. I think they're actually good. I know a lot of people say their defense is not great. I think they're actually good.
Well, Alford is a great corner.
Yeah,
and I think Trufant's hurt. And
Keanu Neal is excellent for a young player. But I mean, this is Tom Brady we're talking about, right? I think he can find cracks in basically any defense, given that he has time. And I think the Giants, in all seriousness, have shown the formula to beating Brady, which is getting in his face, playing physical on the outside, not letting his receivers get a clean clean break. So we'll see how good they are at doing that. But I think it has to be a passing attack for the Patriots.
How about you, Johnny? How do you think the Pats are going to approach the offensive game here?
Yeah, I completely agree with Mike. I think it's going to come down to that defensive line and Vic Beasley. That's the only way he loses. Right, we've seen it with the Giants. We saw it with Denver last year. You can get and hit him. Of course, every quarterback sucks when you get pressure on them and you hit them, right? But that's the only way you can beat Brady, I think, in the playoffs. It's going to be a struggle.
So I was looking into the 5 Falcons' past losses, and in a lot of them, where they fell apart was in trying to defend against running backs coming out of the backfield, running backs playing the passing game. So I feel like the star of the game for the Pat side's potentially going to be Dion Lewis or James White. So we might see some of the wheel routes we saw them run in the past, which used to be to Vereen, where you see Vereen swing out of the backfield and run wide. So I do agree that it's going to be a lot of Tom Brady throwing, but I'm not so sure it's going to be to Edelman or Hogan quite like we saw the last week.
I feel actually looking at the Atlanta stats for their pass rush, outside of Vic Beasley, they don't really have anyone who generates a ton of pressure. Adrian Claiborne has 4.5 sacks, and that's actually second on their team. So I don't think they've really demonstrated the ability outside of Beasley to get to the quarterback. If I were Belichick, and granted, I'm not Belichick, but if I were him, I think my concern would be keeping Beasley off my quarterback. And for that, I would probably bring in Dion Lewis and, either send him out into space or have him pick up the pass rush. And then really let Brady take his time. I feel like that is actually going to be a concern for Atlanta. I don't think the rush game is going to be significant for New England.
Do you agree with that, Johnny, that it's going to be difficult for the Falcons D to get to Brady? Or do you think Beasley can do it?
So Beasley out over the last month of the season, I think, he led the league in sacks, and he had 6 forced fumbles this season, which was tied for the league lead. So I think he can do it, but I feel like it's a little bit of when you force a fumble. I think the difference between forcing a fumble and just hitting the quarterback is almost luck based. Meaning, if you knock down the quarterback versus sacking him, it's just the timing difference of how fast the quarterback got the ball out, right? So we don't look at who led the league in sacks and say that's the best defensive lineman, right? We say, or that's the best pass rusher. We'll go by like how many knockdowns the guy got instead of how many actual sacks. So, and in terms of how many knockdowns he got, he was not even close to the top. I don't think he only knocked down the quarterback 16 times all season, and he had 15.5 sacks, which is kind of ridiculous. So that tells me that when he gets there, he got a lot of sacks, but he doesn't always get there. And this game, he really, really needs to bring it and knock down Tom Brady and, force a fumble even for Atlanta to have a chance at stopping this offense. Otherwise, we see it every year, every playoff game. Tom Brady's just going to sit there and pick apart that defense and go with his, the short routes to the white guy, to the Wes Welkers, and he's just going to, or even the Falcons, I think.
So it sounds like we're all expecting a pretty high-scoring, very offensive-minded Super Bowl game here on Sunday. That's what it sounds like I'm hearing from everyone.
I don't actually think it's going to be high-scoring. I feel like both teams are going to spend a lot of time running the ball. I think both teams actually they were trying to find the stats here, but they like giving it to their running backs just to control the pace of the game. And I think it's one of those games where you want your quarterback to be the guy having the ball at the end of the game for the last possession for the drive. I don't think they are going to want to have a shootout. I think shootouts and Super Bowls are also pretty rare. So, if I had to predict, it'd probably be, 27-21, something like that.
Well, if we're talking about predictions, let's actually jump into it. Let's jump into our predictions. So, Ray, would you be able to recap on where we currently stand on our past predictions and who is potentially going to have to go do some yoga?
Sure. So as of now, we all got the Super Bowl winner wrong, but Kenny in the lead at 6.5 points, Johnny in second with 6, and then Mike and I with 5.5 points. And I think we're all repicking. Kenny may decide not to repick and just guarantee a non-loss. Depends if he's a suck out or whatever.
Well, that's no fun. Everyone has to repick.
All right, everyone's repicking.
That's my first command as host. As my first time hosting, everyone has to pick.
So Kenny, do you want to pick first or?
Oh, I'm picking first because I'm
as the lead. Yeah.
But if I pick first, that means you're all purposely going to pick the opposite of what I do, right?
Well, we'll see.
It sounded like you guys were going to pick the Falcons. But now I'm curious if you're just trying to trick me. If that was a bluff.
Everyone just yell out your pick at the same time.
All right, I'll pick first. I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I just don't know if the Pats defense can stop this offense. As versatile as I believe they are, it's just I don't know if they can do it. So it's Falcons for me. Johnny?
I'll go Falcons also.
Thanks for sparing me from yoga.
Let's see if Mike or Ray spare me from yoga.
So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Falcons too.
All right.
Or I'm gonna go Falcons to cover. Let's go with that.
Oh, we didn't talk about the line, so just to give everyone an update on that, Patriots are currently favored by 3. So you think Falcons will cover?
I think the Falcons will cover.
What about win? Do you think the Falcons will win?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to place a bet on that.
You're already betting. You're betting on yoga. You're committed.
Yeah, the yoga bet is against the spread, isn't it?
I'm gonna take the Falcons to win as well. I feel like in my mind, I've been giving the Patriots the win just because they've been so historically dominant and they've been so well coached. But when I actually look at the team rosters, I feel like the Falcons have the game flow should favor the Falcons. And I feel like they're clicking at the right time. They're young. I think they're hungry. I think there's something to be said about just clicking at the right time and finding your flow.
All right. And last but not least, Ray, who's your pick?
Oh man, so if I pick the Falcons, then it's guaranteed Mike and I last place, right? So
yeah, what's the tie? What's the tie rules?
Oh, I don't know. So I think one thing you guys didn't cover is experience. This is Super Bowl number 7 for Tom Brady, and he's only played in 16 seasons. But I'm gonna pick the Falcons as well. So is there a tiebreaker, like total points, or?
Let's do the over.
Yeah, that's
the tiebreaker.
Let's just do total points.
I think that's a good tiebreaker.
Agree.
What's the difference between total points versus over under?
It's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah. So predict scores. Am I starting?
Sure.
Give me a second. I'm thinking.
I mean, you guys don't need to. It's really just between me and Ray, right? Because we
Yeah,
all picked the
go ahead.
Falcons.
All right, go ahead, Mike.
Ray, do you want to go first?
I'm gonna go 59.
You're gonna go
Perfect.
59. I'm gonna go 58.
Oh, that's cheap, man. We should write this on a piece of paper. And
Price is right, man.
Just the Price is Righted you.
all right, that's fine. So 58 and under, you win. 59 and over, I win. And if it's a tie, well, it won't tie.
You can't tie in the playoffs.
Well, you can't tie it 58 and a half, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can't tie in the playoffs. So.
All right.
All right. Well, that wraps up our Super Bowl edition of the Banana Stand. Thank you all for joining, and have a good night.
Go Falcons.
Okay. Stat correction. LeBron does lead the league in minutes per game at 37 and a half. He is number 50, whatever in total minutes. Minutes per game, Mike. Minutes per game.
Mike, you lied to us.
No, I said total minutes played.
Okay, but nobody cares about
Ray,
that.
just get in and interrupt us.
It's okay. I don't really care that much.
You got to cut us off sometimes and let Mike know he's wrong.
Yeah, that's the best part of the podcast.
That went for 52 minutes. I guess that's okay.
Any thoughts?
Johnny, your mic. What's up with it? Did anyone else hear Johnny coming in and out?
There's a couple of periods where it happened.
Yeah.
I think it was more internet than the mic, though.
I think it might be. Yeah.
Okay, Johnny, get better internet.
I go to
You
stop.
have a wire?
I just need I need a better computer. I'm gonna use Joy's laptop next time.
Are you using the same laptop you had in college?
I don't know. This is pretty old. It's not college, but it's pretty old.
Okay.
What else? Good job, Kenny. It was very well managed.
Thank you.
I think at certain points, Mike, you were just throwing out random stats and not really flowing with the conversation. You'd come in with random stats and just kind of throw off the conversation. I guess calling can you even name three Pelicans? Obviously, Johnny and Kenny both can't.
Nope, I can't.
But that was cool. And then some.
Well, his point was proven.
Yeah, his point was proven. There was just some random moments where it's just it didn't really flow that well, but that was okay. Johnny, good job speaking out more.
Thanks.
I guess that's okay. Just more practice still.
Yeah.
Kenny, how did you feel hosting?
It was okay. I wasn't quite prepared for some things, and there was multiple places where I felt like I wish I had looked up some stats and I didn't have it on hand. But I think you try to do that for next time.
Yeah.
I think we're getting better.
We're getting better. I feel like a lot of the stats that we pull out during the cast, we're Googling on the spot, which may not. Maybe we should just do that beforehand, but otherwise it's okay.
Yeah, I think sometimes the conversations just lead us there, and then we want to Google.
Yeah,
but I guess we could just mute while you're typing.
Mm-hmm. I hear your mouse scrolling, Mike.
Yeah, I'll get better about. I've been hitting mute before.
Yeah, that was good. I hear the mute, so I guess the main audio problem is just Johnny's mic. So, but Johnny's gonna use Joy's computer next time, right? So that'll be okay.
You'll be fine.
See, I don't know. Congratulations to Federer and Serena Williams, greatest of all time. Happy trails, Michael Vick.
Oh, do you see the article he wrote for Players Tribune?
So good.
Michael Vick?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I'm gonna have to check that out.
It was so good. I cried. I cried. I teared up.
There's a really good article on Russell Westbrook too. New York Times.
Fake news.
Are you guys so you guys are playing basketball on the 27th or the 26th?
25th.
It's the 25th. I posted the times it's available. I think it's going to be like 3 to 8 o'clock. But we're not going to have 15. It's going to be like 12 people, I think.
Should I go back for that?
Yes.
Kenny, do you want to go back and do stakes that weekend?
Oh, yeah. So Johnny and Mike does O Stakes.
Yes, we do.
When?
And-
What
And
weekend?
Mike owes me $20, actually.
I owe you $20. Johnny owes me
Yes, he
jelly
does.
beans.
That's right, I do.
What weekend is this?
The 25th.
25th weekend.
Of February?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could do dinner the 24th if you guys want. Or,
I mean, I'm gonna be off, so I'm free.
all right.
I might be able to. I might actually be coming back next weekend, the 11th,
Oh, what for? Just
because I couldn't last weekend, and I was supposed to this weekend, but I'm not sure I can again for Chinese New Year. So I'm going back way late.
Yeah.
Are you back, Mike?
I don't know. So, I mean, I my last day is the 10th, and then I don't start till the 27th. Dee says she's down to take a weekend off, but we might go to somewhere like Turks and Caicos or something.
Come to Disney World with us, Mike.
Oh, when are you going to Disney World?
President's Day weekend.
Oh, you are? Maybe
Yeah.
we'll go with you. Did you already book the tickets?
Yeah, I have the tickets. I have my hotel room. Basically everything planned.
Are you gonna be in Orlando the entire time, or are you doing any other place?
Orlando from Wednesday night to Monday.
Oh, send me your itinerary. We might actually go with you guys if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll send it over.
Oh man, I was literally going to go there too.
Yeah, dude, fuck work, man. You hate your job. Just-
Hey, I'm coming too.
Mike,
No,
you should go to Johnny. Where are you
wedding.
going?
I have a wedding that weekend.
Oh.
Otherwise, we were planning to go on a mini trip this month, and we were thinking, Orlando, Disney.
Here's the one that I was looking at. It's Turks and Caicos. They got like a whole bunch of different villages. And they're all like fully inclusive resorts. So you can just drop however much, and then you just show up, and then they take care of everything else.
Well, that sounds awesome.
It's just
Yeah, and they have they
Marcus.
take care of your kids too.
Do they really?
Yeah, they have a Sesame Street there.
Oh, that's fantastic for you.
Mike said that like 4 times. Like we can
Hilton
we can
daycare.
get rid of Marcus.
And dude, man,
Yes,
you don't understand.
Can we see him? Can you like take him out and say hi so we can say
He's
hi?
sleeping right now, dude. It's 10:15.
Just carry him over. Just
I'm not waking him up so you can see him on webcam,
why not?
because then he'll it's just gonna ruin his sleep.
It's okay. He has like 10,000 more nights to sleep.
True.
No,
That's such a depressing way to look at it. So we have like 8,000 more nights.
We have more than that, Kenny.
I actually hope he has a lot more than 10,000 nights, because 10,000 nights is not that much.
So that's what, like
27
30 years, 27 years. Okay, so he has like 30,000 nights. Sure. So he could sacrifice tonight to say hi.
I don't want to sacrifice tonight and have to deal with him all night.
Fine.
Is anyone else going, or is it just you and Rowan?
It's just us two.
Oh.
But I heard Dee's like an expert, so maybe she could.
Yeah, I mean she's from Florida.
Sure. So I'm just to assume everyone from Florida is an expert in Disney World.
Yeah, actually, she's gone like 7 or 8 times
Well, she went for a bachelorette party. So
with her mom and her friend's mom.
are you judging?
I am judging.
Okay.
I would have to go with my mom to Disney World. If that means I got to go to Disney World.
That's
Really, I just want to take a vacation.
yeah, take
My-
a vacation, man.
My parents invited me to dim sum with your parents, Kenny.
Really?
Yeah, Saturday.
I feel like you know more about my parents than I do now.
So maybe I'm happy to go to dim sum just with your mom too.
Damn. Uh,
Oh, son.
I'm probably not gonna go.
good.
Oh. Okay.
So yeah, let's do steaks on the 11th.